Welcome! Today we're looking at every single overclock for the M1000 precision rifle. These are the mods I've used to create this video, and I want to thank the creators of them. I also want to thank these players who dedicated their time and insight into the builds that they use for the M1000, and their YouTube channels will be in the description. The general consensus amongst players is that there's two ways to build the M1000, a blow-through anti-horde and a focus high-value target. There are of course hybrid options, and we're going to explore those, especially as some of those hybrid builds really opened my eyes to a different way to use the M1000. So we're going to split this into the blow through to start off with, and then we're going to look at the high value target focus builds. Hipster is a lot of people's favourite. Ammo, rate of fire, recoil control at the cost of a considerable amount of damage. And we can see here on the right hand side that rate of fire and recoil control compared to our gun with no overclock. Rate of fire can be a double-edged sword, and the tendency to spam is going to make it so you can miss shots, especially when you were first getting used to that increased rate of fire that Hipster provides. Better weight balance at tier 2 can seem like you can have that super rate of fire and supreme control of your accuracy, but that comes at the cost of armor break. Better weight balance on the left hand side and hardened rounds on the right, and we can see this difference in the amount of ammo and time it is going to take down priority targets that the scout really wants to focus on to help your team. With some targets we're talking about seconds and one ammo, but with other targets we're talking about wasting entire clips and also tons of time trying to take them down, if not impacting our entire playstyle and having to play around a target until we can take it down at the right time. You can get away with not using better weight balance if you just reduce that rate of fire. Yes, you can spam Hipster, but if you just hold back a little bit, you can have better accuracy. Both of these clips have got the exact same build. If we are slowing down with Hipster, it opens up two really interesting questions. The first of which is a hybrid killer focus build, and the second one, which is potentially more intriguing, we'll have a look at in a second. When Little Bobby suggested I try killer focus instead of a higher magazine, I quite frankly thought it was pretty ludicrous, going down to a magazine of 8 instead of 14 and losing that rate of fire that Hipster gains. But let's have a look at some of the simulations now. On the left hand side we have no killer focus, and it takes 3 shots to kill a grunt, or 1 focus shot and 1 normal shot, whereas with the killer focus it's just 1 shot to take out that grunt, saving us ammo and time. In this simulation we're just using hip fire on the left hand side, but on the right hand side we've got killer focus, and you can see that actually consumes less ammo and is quicker even though we're not using that rate of fire from Hipster. These numbers and slowing down is really intriguing, and the player Mount actually calls this his ironic build because it ironically takes down swarms quicker than if you spam hip fire. If with Hipster that's slowing down that hip fire, or even going over to killer focus and completely reducing that rate of fire boost, if that is going to save us ammo and actually time, then it leads us on to our second and more intriguing question: what other overclocks can we do which do the same thing with this blow through that Hipster is trying to do, but can we achieve it in a different way? All of these overclocks can be used with blow-through to potentially replace Hipster. Electrocuting focus shots was quite interesting, and we'll have a look at that later, but for now we're going to run these simulations using minimal clips. As this is for taking on the Horde, we're taking ammo at tier 1, we're going to look at killer focus and magazine size, and we're going to clearly state that as we go through. This damage potential has Hipster on the right hand side with that total of 9,504, and on that left hand side we've got our minimal clips or hoverclock and all of those different ones combined. We have Hipster on the left hand side, minimal clips on the right, and you can see on that left hand side Hipster requires 1 additional body shot to take down this grunt, and a similar story goes for the weak point where it requires an additional shot over minimal clips. This additional Hipster shot is just to finish off the grunt. In these examples it only has 10 HP left, so actually that damage potential is far lower than 9,504 because that last shot isn't going to be dealing its full damage. I ran this simulation 4 times, and what you're seeing here is the best clips of each. There is almost no difference in time, but this ammo consumed is really different when we consider minimal clips versus Hipster. If we bring in killer focus now, both clips basically look exactly the same and it's the same ammo consumed, but minimal clips actually can still achieve this 90 damage even without killer focus. Both of these builds can't one-shot an acid spitter even with killer focus, which is a real shame. With minimal clips or any of those overclocks we have to take tier 1 damage, and that's something we're going to have a look at in the second half of the video. If minimal clips with killer focus or with an extended magazine can compete or even beat Hipster, then all of these overclocks have a chance of doing a good job also. Let's start off by looking at active stability system and straight into the movement speed benefits. On the right hand side we've got that movement speed, and you can see we're just getting a little bit further away from the grunts. If we freeze this we can actually see it's 3.5 extra meters that we've gone, and that can make a considerable difference between you being hit or killed. The faster focus speed gives us an extra 5 frames or 8 frames if we take the fast charging coils, but but then we lose armor break, and for an extra 3 frames, probably not worth it. I thought I would just throw all of the reload data in here to get it out of the way. So at the top, we've got our animation cancelling, far left, we've got no overclock. And you can see that on that far right, active stability, even with animation cancelling, is going to impact our reload speed, but we are saving those 5 frames each focus shot, so kind of mitigating it somewhat. Minimal clips providing 1 extra focus shot with a magazine of 10, or really good sustained fire with a magazine of 18 when hip firing, is a reason people often use minimal clips rather than hipster. My personal favourite overclock is the hoverclock, and I just love taking on elite deep dives. It can save me so much time not needing to worry about platforms, just flying through and getting the objectives done. It can also mitigate stupid moments and not having to worry about taking that last bit of nitro and falling to your death. Hoverclock really shines best against a horde. Its super kiting ability, you can just fire the grappling hook anywhere, knowing that you can rely on it to slow you down and not take any fall damage. We can also use this super aggressively, backing this up with embedded detonators. You can quickly get behind targets if we've got that tier 5 stun, helping us take down Praetorians and getting into position on things like oppressors and getting back out again. I absolutely love hoverclock, and now I find when I don't have it, I just fall to my death because I just grapple off to some random direction. But is there anything on this list which could replace it in my mind for our super blowthrough? Electrocuting focus shots gives us a hit in focus damage, but we apply electrocution. Now that electrocution is 48 because it lasts 4 seconds as opposed to the subby's 3 seconds. Now this is what I actually had for this overclock in my script, but do I still hold to that after running simulation? Firstly was to see whether the blowthrough applied electrocution, and it does. But when I looked at this footage, I realised I was one focus shot in an acid spitter, and this was with ammo at tier 1. This is something I thought we were only going to be examining in the second half of this video when we looked at tier 1 damage and our focus builds. Yet here we are, one shot in a high value target with ammo at tier 1. We've still got blowthrough, and we've got crowd control options with that electrocution. This really made me sit back and think I'm going to have to properly test this overclock. Minus 25% focus shot damage leaves us with 75% on this left hand side and 80.2. In the middle, if we take killer focus, it brings us back to 91.7 with 100%. And then on the far right hand side, if we take a different overclock with killer focus, we can get 103. Losing about 12 damage in that first hit to have a potential 48 electrical damage over time seems like a no-brainer, but we must consider targets with electrical immunity such as oppressors and dreadnoughts. This is purely going to have a negative hit on our damage, and this makes us need to rely on a secondary to take on these targets, and likely pushing EFS into the horde clearing category using that super blowthrough and the crowd control that the electrical brings. With the electrocution for crowd control, we could consider dropping stun and taking killing machine for that faster reload. On the right hand side, we end up saving free ammo with that electrical damage, and the timing difference is negligible. EFS is interesting because we know we gain that extra damage from the electrocution, plus we get crowd control with that slow, and we can still take on high value targets such as an acid spitter with 1 focus shot, a leech with 1 focus shot, but we don't quite manage to take down a trijaw with 1 focus shot. When it comes to using an overclock which isn't hipster for your horde clearing blowthrough, I think all 4 of these have really got their merits. I absolutely love hoverclock, but electrocuting focus shots has really opened my eyes, and I'm going to properly test that. But honestly, any 4 of these overclocks or even hipster are all really good options. I just want to end the blowthrough section also going over killer focus. I've really started to be converted to using killer focus, especially because those focus shots have that 100% accuracy. Wherever you point that focus shot, you're going to hit. And in this example with the slashers, this is with hoverclock, but look at me just annihilate these slashers with these weak point super focus hits. Moving away from blowthrough and going over to our high value target builds, and this build is from Vryn. He uses this with active stability system, can really take down those high priority threats such as acid spitters and trijaws. We're going to run some simulations with this and also factoring in blowthrough for a hybrid build. Blowthrough on the left hand side, weak point on the right hand side, and on that right hand side 1 focus shot and we've killed that guard, whereas it's going to take an additional shot on that left hand side. Both of these builds one shot an acid spitter or a trijaw, so that isn't an issue. With blowthrough, we're taking a trade in damage so that we can also have the utility to deal with a horde if we need it at that moment in time. Now with this build we have a reduced total amount of ammo, so we're not going to be focusing on those hordes, but it can be nice to have it if you need it in a pinch. For the high value target focus takedown build, we can use any 3 of these overclocks. Active stability gives you that movement speed bonus, but hoverclock gives you a whole ton of mobility. And we can't forget minimal clips with having an extra focus shot and reload time. That's quite a bit of sustainability. But I know you might be thinking there is one overclock missing from this list, Supercooling Chamber, so let's have a look look at that now and let's see if it's really worth taking it. That reduced focus speed is pretty painful, almost 3/4 of a second, and even if we take fast charging coils, it's still over half a second to focus. And we can really feel that slower focus when we're going up against larger targets like Praetorians and Oppressors. Combined with the fact that we can't move when we're focusing, makes it even harder to try and hit those weak points. We know with our other overclocks we can already take down high value targets like acids, bitters and trijoules with one focus shot. So really Supercooling Chamber is just doubling down on taking down larger targets. But these negatives of the movement speed, the focus speed and a hit in ammo really don't seem to outweigh that damage boost. I'm really hoping the link for the next video is at the top right, but who knows with YouTube. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.